Hey y'all, what's up? What's happening? It's your girl Renna, and we are finally back with another video. I know it has been so long, but we are back and we are here to stay, and that's on period. So I really wanted to do this video this week because I just got a notification not too long ago that it was actually my 4-year anniversary of my abstinence journey. Yay me, I'm having mixed feelings about it, but to celebrate, we are going to keep it simple, do a little self-care, and answer the 10 most Googled questions about abstinence. So stay tuned. Okay, y'all, so we're just going to jump right into it. The first question is, what made you decide to become abstinent and stick with it? Okay, y'all, so I'm not even going to hold you on this question. It was an accident. It really was. So at first, I caught myself just taking a little break, focusing on myself, focusing on God, and then I was just gonna get, right back into it whenever I felt like it. But as I got closer to God and I started focusing more on that relationship, it kind of became a little bit more intentional because I just became more aware of how precious I was to God and how he felt about premarital sex. Like, I had already knew that, you're not supposed to have sex out of marriage and everything, but I don't know. I guess I just didn't understand the depth of it all until I rededicated, my life back to Christ. So yeah, it was a whole accident that eventually became intentional, and I was able to stick with it by just leaning on God again, understanding how precious I was to him, and I started to see how precious my nanny was, for lack of a better word, and I just didn't want to give that up so freely. So yeah. Next question. Okay, y'all, so the second question was, how do you deal with loneliness and desire without compromising your commitment? Now, this was a hard one, y'all. At first, I was most definitely compromising my commitment because it's very hard to go from doing stuff to not doing nothing at all. It was very hard. So I ended up, falling, whether it be compromising by doing everything but with somebody else, or making things happen on my own, if you catch my drift. But eventually, God started convicting me regarding that, and I really just had to pray. I had to pray through those moments. I had to pray through having those desires, and I had to come to grips with the fact that those desires are not ungodly. Like, God is the one who created those desires in us. It was just the way that I was going about satisfying those desires out of my marital season that was the issue. So once I came to grips with that and the fact that God does not like any form of sex out of marriage, I really just started praying through those moments. I started distracting myself like Joseph had to do. Honey, I was fleeing from sin. Now, the only thing is, sometimes it would hit me like late at night. It would hit me late at night where I was in my bed, I was chilling, I didn't feel like getting up, doing nothing, going nowhere. And those were the times where I literally had to hold my Bible close to my chest, repeat whatever Bible verse or scripture or whatever I was studying at the time, just to get my mind off of doing things that I wasn't supposed to do. And we just had to keep it kicking. Question number 3. What do you say to people who think abstinence is outdated or unrealistic? Well, first of all, I'm a living testimony that is not unrealistic. I'm sitting here right in front of you, 4 years abstinent. So it most definitely is possible. You just have to put in the effort. And I think not a lot of people are willing to put in that effort or put in that commitment to do something like this anymore. As far as abstinence being outdated, I don't think abstinence is outdated at all. I feel like sex in one form or another is shoved down our throats a lot, and so we think that sex, or rather sex out of marriage, is normal. But just because something is common does not mean that it's normal. So yeah, next question. Okay, y'all, so question number 4 is, how has abstinence affected your dating life and your standards? My dating life is kind of non-existent. I'm not gonna lie to you, because nowadays, again, a lot of people think that sex out of marriage is normal, and even though it's a common thing, at least according to my faith and my beliefs, it's not normal. Like, it's not something that is acceptable or pleasing to God. And not a lot of men are willing to wait anymore. With that being said, it's not like there aren't any out there. In this game, in this abstinence game, it's more so quality over quantity. Okay? And so with that being said, it's very far and few in between that you will find a man, unfortunately, even a man that claims to be a follower of Christ, that is willing to wait until marriage. But I have found that they are out there. Let me move this out of the way. I have found that they are out there. I just haven't found the one for me. Y'all, this looks crazy, but this is a bentonite clay mask, and I put some turmeric in it. So yeah, as far as how it's affected my standards, they're definitely higher, I would say. And it's not just because like I'm abstinent, it's because initially, like when I first started my abstinence journey, I was getting to know like more and more how God felt about me, about his child, about one of the heirs to his kingdom, and how I'm royalty, like I'm literally the daughter of a king. And that mainly is what raised my standards as far as dating and the men that I allow into my space like that. So yeah, if you're not treating me like the queen that I am, if you're not treating me like the heir to Christ's kingdom that I am, honey, you're blocked. And you're blocked with a quickness. I'm not playing those games. I'm really not. I did that when I was younger, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm not playing those games no more. I'm 27 years old. I know my worth, and I add tax and I add tariffs. And that's really what you need to do, not just in this abstinence journey, but in life, period. Know your worth, add tax, and add tariffs. And if they're not in the, not just financial, but if they're not in the emotional, spiritual, mental tax bracket that you're in, then it's to the left. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, next question. Question number 5. Do you ever feel pressure from church, culture, or yourself to be perfect? Before I answer that question, let me go ahead and put this 20-minute timer on. Okay. Okay, so to answer question number 5, do you ever feel pressure from church, culture, or yourself to be perfect? I definitely feel pressure. I feel pressure from myself to be perfect on this journey, especially in the beginning. Like, I felt like just abstaining from sex for a little while would be easy, but I honestly did not realize until I started to abstain how much I kind of relied on sex for like my confidence and like self-worth, because I felt like, okay, if somebody else wants me, if somebody else thinks I'm cute or I'm sexy or whatever, then I am. Like, I was looking for that validation in the wrong places, and that's what I used sex for. And so once I went without that, once I went cold turkey at first, it was very, very hard. And that's when I started to lean even more into scriptures like Galatians 4:7, for I am no longer a slave but God's own child, and because I am his child, he has made me his heir. And there are like countless verses where God tells you that he will literally trade the world for you. You can go to some of the most basic verses like John 3:16, for God so loved the world, for God so loved you, for God so loves me, that he gave his only begotten son, for whosoever believed in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And I feel like for somebody to give up their only child for me, that's the ultimate confidence booster. So yeah, I definitely felt pressure from myself at first to be perfect and to get this journey right the first time. But I feel like as I went on, I kind of learned to make space and make room for my humanity. And I learned to give myself grace along this journey. And I learned to accept God's grace along this journey and not let condemnation set in. Conviction is cool, but condemnation is from the enemy. It's not from God. And I really had to battle with that. I still kind of battle with it now, but not so much as when I first started my journey. Okay, y'all, question number 6. What's the difference between abstinence and celibacy, and which are you practicing? So I'm practicing abstinence. Well, let me get to the definition first. So abstinence and celibacy low-key has a couple of different definitions. In a video that I saw a while ago, a man said that the difference between abstinence and celibacy was that in abstinence, you're somebody who's had sex already that is abstaining from sex until you're married or a certain period of time. And somebody who is celibate is somebody who is a virgin who has never had sex and is not having sex until a certain period of time or until they get married. Now, if you Google the difference, it says that sexual abstinence, also known as continence, I've never heard it referred to as that, but whatever, is abstaining from some or all aspects of sexual activity, often for some limited period of time, while celibacy may be defined as a voluntary religious vow not to marry or engage in sexual activity. So in both of those definitions, I'm practicing abstinence. I don't plan on being non-sexually active or whatever for the rest of my life. Like, I'm just waiting until marriage, and I have been sexually active before, but we're not playing those games no more. So yeah, I'm practicing abstinence. And yeah, those are the two definitions of abstinence versus celibacy. Both are pretty similar in my opinion, but yeah. Next question, question number 7. What are some practical ways you protect your purity mentally, emotionally, and physically? So some ways that I protect my purity mentally, I just try not to watch things that have sexual content in it. If I'm watching a movie and I'm really feeling the plot, like I've gotten to the point where I could just skip that part and I don't really feel no type of ways. Like, it's not really temptation for me to go back and see what the goings on is in that particular scene. So I'll just skip it. That way I'm not put in, that sexual mind frame. I know my face looks super ashy right now, but that's why we're doing this honey mask. We want to add, you know, some moisture back into my skin after that clay mask. But yeah, try to avoid sexual content as much as possible. Definitely no pornography. But if it's like in a movie or a show, if that's like the main thing in that movie or that show, like if they have a sex scene every 5 minutes, then just don't watch it. Just don't watch it. And I kind of had got to that point in the beginning where it was like, I couldn't just skip it, you know? I couldn't just skip it. So I just stopped watching it altogether. But eventually I did get to that point where I could just skip that scene and go on about, you know, my business, continue watching the movie. Now, physically, there are a few things that I had to do. The first thing was I stopped being alone with the person that I was talking to or that I was dating at the time. It's not about maturity. It's really about being proactive. Like, you already know these desires are human, okay? Just because you're a Christian or just because you decided to practice abstinence doesn't mean that those urges or those desires are gonna go away. I just really had to be honest with myself regarding what my triggers were, whether that be a lack of self-worth and me needing that validation, me not really understanding where those urges or desires originally came from, which again is not from the enemy, it's from God. He is the one who gave us those desires. Once I realized all of those things, I was able to better understand what I needed to do practically to protect my purity, protect my abstinence journey, whether it be skipping that particular scene in that movie or that show, or not watching that movie or that show at all, not shaving, not wearing any cute undergarments or underwear or whatever when I went out on a date, being upfront with that person about my abstinence journey, like, hey, I like you, I want to see where this goes, but this is where I'm at currently, and I am not compromising at all. And so then you have to set boundaries in that situation. Again, I can't go over your house. If you really struggling, hey, we can't hug for that long. We can make up a little handshake. That's cute. We can do that. Not kissing. Some of y'all don't want to go that far, but sometimes it definitely is needed in this abstinence journey, especially in the beginning when you just don't have that discipline built up. Next question, y'all. Question number 8. How do you respond to temptation and what keeps you grounded? So again, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. When it comes to abstinence, you can't just go into it half-heartedly. You really have to be proactive and plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's what you have to do. Now, some scripture that keeps me grounded, one of them will be 1 Corinthians 10:13, which says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. So to me, that just meant that I am not alone in my struggle. A lot of people in mankind have gone through the same thing. And there are some that have, ooh, that's my alarm for this mask. A lot of them have succeeded. Like, it's not anything that I can't overcome, which leads you into the next part of that verse. God is faithful and he will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. The next part says, but when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to just sit there and just wait for that way out. You have to ask him, like, God, I'm feeling this way. Submit your feelings, submit your desires to God. God, I'm really feeling this way. I'm really feeling tempted, and I want to do something about it, but I need you to help me. I need you to create a way out for me. Question number 9. How has God grown or transformed you during your abstinence journey? He has really transformed me as far as knowing who I am. My confidence has definitely been upgraded. My knowledge and wisdom in this area has definitely been upgraded. Overall, I've just learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about my worth. I've learned a lot about God and how graceful he is, as far as like how much grace he is willing and able to give you when you need it. And I've also learned how proactive you need to be as far as not falling into temptation. I've also learned how to have patience and grace for myself. It's a journey, and journeys are all about progression and not perfection. Okay, y'all, last question while I put on my nighttime moisturizer. What advice would you give a woman who wants to start or restart her abstinence journey? First and foremost, give yourself grace. Learn to give yourself grace. Learn your triggers. Take some time to figure out what boundaries you need to put in place to protect your purity. Know that your journey is not going to be perfect, because you are not perfect, and that is completely okay. Again, you have to give yourself grace. You have to know that God is going to give you grace. He is looking for progression and not perfection. Obedience over perfection will hit every time. So just be patient with yourself, like God is patient with you, and eventually you'll get the hang of it. It'll get a little bit easier. I'm not saying that it's not gonna be hard. Sometimes, even when you're a vet in this journey, like I'm 4 years in, and y'all, sometimes it's just really hard some days, but I know that God got my back. I understand that I am human, and I'm able to get through those moments with scripture, with prayer, distracting myself, doing something else that is completely different from what I'm thinking about. So yeah, girl, with that being said, as far as the abstinence journey, I feel like it's all pros, no cons. Go for it. Don't be scared. It's gonna be hard at first, but just like anything else, the more you practice, the more effort you put into it, the easier that it gets. So that's all that I have for this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I can't see. Let me put my glasses on. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Thank you for celebrating my 4-year abstinence journey with me, even though this was a whole accident, but it was one of the best accidents that could have ever happened to me. And with that being said, always remember that you are beautiful, you are worthy, and you are royalty. And I will see y'all in my next one.